May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our bit to help preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, Taiyo Lipscomb. Taiyo came to the Zen Center in the mid-'70s. Very interesting how he got there and what motivated him. And he was there 23 years and got to be one of the people making the decisions. And then he got together with his mate, and they've been together 23 years. Now, I know that sounds weird. I swear that's what he said. I mean, he didn't say them at the same time. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but I'm not going to go back and check. It's something like that. Anyway, we had a nice talk with him. I found it very interesting. He kept revealing things. He did the first film archiving of Zen Center, and I had no idea. And I try to give everybody credit for everything he did. And he did that like in the mid-'80s. That was incredible. And that's a very interesting story. So anyway, let's just go hear what Taiyo has to say. Taiyo, so you look great. How are you doing?
Well, I think I'm doing pretty well. But yesterday I'm taking classes at the university, and I took one on hiking, level 1. And however, at the end of the hike, I informed them that this wasn't going to work for me, so I'm not going to do any more.
Well, you had one class.
Yes, so that's how I'm doing. I start out and I do a 3-mile hike and I go, okay, that's enough.
I got it, yeah. So, well, what are you up to these days?
Well, that's it. These days I'm mostly taking classes, what is called college for seniors. Mm-hmm. So it's at the local university, but it's not the university itself. They're all volunteers. But they're regular classes that you sign up for and are taught mostly by people who were teaching before they retired. And it's good. I don't think anyone is under 75 there, but...
You don't think there's anyone under 75? Wow.
Right.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not around people my age much here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, all the people who've gone to ENSO, the retirement places, Zen Center. I get very positive reports about it, but boy, it sure is a different experience from what I'm having. But they like it. Are you still married?
I am still married. Been almost 23 years.
Very good. Very good.
We're trucking along.
Very good. Very good. Well, You're joining us for this podcast, completes the trifecta. I did Frank Kilmer, I don't know, a few years ago, and Ted Howell recently. And then we said, hey, it's time for Taiyo. So, because I used to see the three of you, and you all have been so tight all these years. But I want to go back before that conspiracy began. Where were you born?
I was born in a naval hospital in Corpus Christi, and 3 weeks later, I was living in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, so you're a native Texan like me.
I'm a military brat.
Yeah, right. And how often did you move around as a kid?
We moved every 3 to 4 years.
Wow, how was that?
Well, when I was 16, it was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Leaving where we were. We were in Dayton, Ohio. However, with that exception, I loved it.
Oh, that's good.
I went to high school in Germany. I went to elementary school in Scotland. I went to middle school in Ohio. They were all very different.
Wow. Well, when was the... Do you have a starting point and like a way-seeking mind story? Some point, you know what I mean?
Yes. I guess a way-seeking mind story would be I was drafted into the Army out of college.
What year were you born?
1943.
Ah, yeah. When's your birthday?
January 7th.
January 7th. Huh. Okay. So you got...
Are you in there somewhere?
Yeah, you got 2 years on me.
Uh-huh.
I'm 45, February 9th. And all right. So go on.
So I went off to Vietnam, and fortunately I didn't kill anyone, but it sort of scrambled my brain. And when I came back to the States, a bunch of crazy things happened. And at some point, living in San Francisco, I realized that something had to change. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that at that point, I had spent a year and a half living on unemployment. So I'd been a legal secretary. The company folded. So I went on unemployment, and it was the time period when in the United States it was thought that unemployment was so high, and it was so hard for people to get jobs, they extended unemployment.
What year?
So this was 1974. 1974. So I was on unemployment from like sometime in 74 to sometime in 76. And what I had decided to do was I didn't have very much, but I had enough to pay my rent and to eat. So I thought, what would it be like if I could figure out how to live without having to go to work? I could just live on this amount of money. And so I started photography to bring in a little extra money. And I smoked a horrendous amount of dope during those days. Just like only when I was awake. That's all. So
you never would have. You never would have. You never struck me that way.
Well,
you were always very alert, and there wasn't anything sleepy or anything about you.
Well, I did smoke at Zen Center. Quit when I came to Zen Center.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah, but you didn't seem to have much hangover from it or anything.
no, 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 I didn't. And so what happened was I was living what seemed to me an ideal life. I had enough money to survive on and to live okay. I spent a lot of time traveling around on buses and taking pictures, and I had enough money to buy a little dope. And my life, it didn't, something didn't work, and I don't know what it was. It didn't make any sense because everything outwardly seemed to be really good. So at some point I thought I have to do something here. So the first thing I did was join a master's program up at Sonoma State. So Sonoma State used to be called Granola U because it was such a hippie place. And I joined a program that was very hippie-ish, and what you did was you put in an X amount of money, everyone put in, 100 people put in, and then we designed our own program.
Ah,
So, and we hired the teachers we wanted to hire and all this, and all we had to do was do it in such a way that you got credit for the classes. So, but it was very hippie. There was a lot of sex and there was a lot of drugs and all, and they abandoned the program 2 years later because they said it was too druggy, too hippie.
yeah.
And so from there, I was sharing a house in San Francisco with a woman whom that's all we ever shared was the rent. We never had a very close relationship. And one day she said, we never do anything together, and it's been like 3 years. We never go anywhere. We literally never do anything together. How about going with me down to the mountains to a place where they have hot springs?
Oh,
And I said, what is the name of this? And she said, it's Tassajara. All I know is the last couple of summers, I go down at the beginning of what they call guest season, and I go in as a day student, and I blah, 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 blah. So we went down there, and we stayed at China Camp because we went down the day before it opened. We spent the night at China Camp, and when we got up in the morning, there was half a foot of snow on the ground.
oh goodness. Wait a minute. Half a foot? You're talking about May 1st is the opening of the guest
That's
season.
correct.
It's
That's
a very
exactly
late,
right.
very late snow. And
Yeah, it was very
Camp,
late.
China Camp, for the those who don't know, the road to Tassajara is like 14 miles of dirt road going way, way, way up. China Camp's pretty high up there. It's probably at about 4,000 feet or something.
I think it's about 4,800.
4,800, but the highest
Yeah.
is 5,000.
Is 5 up at Shoes Ridge.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, no, I'm going home. Let's go home. I'm not going to go down there. What is all this snow? She said, no, really. She said, it won't be like that down there. So she talked me into it. Excuse me here.
Yeah.
So we drove down and we parked outside the gate and we walked down. And because it was the first day of guest season, the do-ons were still practicing so that they would have some do-ons and so forth and so on. And it was in the old Zendo.
Yeah.
What
I'm
is
going to
now the
explain what
student
do-ons are. They're the
yes.
people who run the ceremonies with bells and, different things. All right.
So as we walked down the road towards the office, there was this bong, bong, bong. Someone was beating on the big Makugio, and that's when we had the big giant one before it was burned up.
The big wooden fish.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I turned to my friend and I said, what is this place? And she said, I don't know. It's some kind of religious place, but I just come here for the hot baths. And I said, well, you go in the baths, and I'm going to sit down here on the rock and find out what's going on. So I sat there on the rock wall for about 10 minutes, and I got up and I went in the office and I said, what is this place and how do I live here? And
That is
that was
great.
it. They said, well, you have to leave before you can come back. You have to go back and do 2 weeks. And then, so that's what I did. I went back to City Center and I did 2 weeks City Center. And I came back to Tassajara and I did Tassajara. It was, for me, so undisciplined. It was really terrible, absolutely terrible. And at some point, I went, Ulysses was was the Eno at Tassajara. So at some point I went to Ulysses and
I want to say is head of the Zendo and
managed.
ceremonies and everything, right? What year
Yeah.
was this?
It was, as far as I can tell, either 75 or 76.
76, because I was director in 75. And I don't remember Ulysses being, was he?
Yeah, I don't know. That was, anyway, yeah, I don't, that's as best as I can do, 75 or 76.
All right.
I suspect it was 75, and I will tell you why in a few moments. So I think it was
Yeah.
75. So they told me I had to go away, and so then I came back and I spent a couple of weeks. I did the 2 week thing at Tassajara as a guest student, but at some point I found myself sitting in front, out behind the kitchen with Ulysses crying, and I said, this is terrible. Nothing's working. I'm at the end of my rope. I have no idea what to do, and nothing's working. And Ulysses laughs and laughs, and he said, "Isn't that wonderful? You're also at the end of the road, and there isn't any other place to go but here." And I thought, wow, what a way to look at it.
Wow.
So that at that point, after my 2 weeks, I actually went off and went back to Sonoma to finish up my schooling, finish up the semester there. And at the end of the semester, this is sort of interesting. So in the class, we had someone who did the lights for the Exploratorium. The Exploratorium did a light show with laser lights. So he was their technician,
Yeah.
and he was in our class. So he said, listen, if we can find a place, I'll design and do a light show for all of you. Well, it turned out one of the people in the class's husband was a state senator, and they owned property on top of a plateau in Sonoma.
Huh.
So we went up to this plateau and we hung up a giant sheets. I think we sewed a bunch together between the trees, and this guy did a light show against this white background.
Huh.
It also happened to be the time of the year, which doesn't occur very often, when the sun and the moon are on the horizon at the exact same time, opposite each other. So one was over here and one was over here.
Yeah.
And we knew that. We had planned all that. So when I got up the next morning, someone who knew I had been at Zen Center said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so we all went out to the edge. It was literally a plateau, and you could go out to the edge and it dropped down 300 feet down there below. But it was a great place where the sun was on my left and the moon was on my right. And it was about maybe 6:30 in the morning. So I went out and I literally put my hands out like this. And I stood there with one hand at the moon and one at the sun. And then I did, made a complete circle, stopping each way. And when I got back, I said, I know what I'm doing. I'm moving to Tassajara. So I ran down to the house and called. It was actually the city center. I called and talked to Mark Alexander, and I said, okay, because I had talked to him before, I've made up my mind. I'm moving to Zen Center. I'm yours.
Huh.
And that was it. I stayed there 26 years. So
Wow. That's great. That's great. I like that. This is you came there without the fervent desire to get enlightened and all that stuff that so many people had.
Dave, I never had heard of Zen. until I went to Tassajara.
Ah, that's something.
I'm sure in my philosophy class in college, I must have heard of Buddhism because I think the teacher taught all these different things. But,
Yeah.
that was 8 or 10 years and I knew nothing. And it didn't matter. All I knew was this was the place that was going to keep me alive.
Ah, that is great.
So,
That is great. Um, that is great. Um, so, what did you do? How did it work out?
well, it took me about 8 years to actually come to some settledness. So during that 8 years, I lived at the city center the first 2 years, worked in a grocery store, went to Tassajara for 2 years. And Tassajara, they asked me to go work in Greens where you and I met each other. And I went to work in Greens, and it was sometime after I'd been at Greens maybe 3 years when I started to go, oh, I guess I'm here. I guess, I guess it's okay.
Mm.
And it was something like that. Because I remember times I'd get really angry at Greens and I would take, one of these spatulas, you turn pancakes over and whack the counter with it like that. And people
Mm.
said I had to stop behaving that way. And I agreed with them, but I wasn't sure how to do that. And
Mm.
at some point, it all washed away and everything was different.
And that happened in a moment.
I would, pardon, it happened what?
In a moment, or
Well,
gradually.
yeah, I think it did happen in a moment in the sense remember one time when Elaine said, Taiyo, what is happening with you? You seem to be so angry and everything. And when I realized that I had carried this with me from Vietnam and all that, and that this was an opportunity to let go of it, to forget it, to just cook,
Ah,
just make the soup, or cook
yeah,
the pizzas or whatever and somehow I let go of it,
yeah,
and it changed everything.
yeah,
Zazen became an immense pleasure to do.
yeah. That's a wonderful approach. It's very pure in a way, you know.
Um,
Uh, it's devoid of a lot of thinking and beliefs, and
yeah, there wasn't much thinking.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Uh, yeah, we get into these things and then start believing a lot of stuff, and then that's sort of in the way. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so yeah, so you were at the grocery store. Who was head of the grocery store?
It was shared by David and Neil.
David
Uh,
David Schneider, David
no,
Silva, David Silva,
David Silva
and
and
and Neil Rubin King.
correct. They were co leaders.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Ah, yeah. I did the grocery store, and from the first, uh, for half a year, and then I went to Bolinas and was half time with Zen Center after that. That was the end of my being a Zen Center company man. But I continued doing things with him. Well, do you have any? I mean, you were there 26 years, and so after 8 years, you sort of found yourself there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's good. And so, what happened after that?
Well, I think at that point, after that, I started to become involved in Zen Center um, as a part of the decision mechanism.
Uh huh.
So they asked me to go to Tassajara and become work leader.
Yeah.
So I did. And then the year after I was work leader, I became director. And
Ah,
then,
ah,
so I was director the the fall and winter or fall and spring of 89 and 90. I think that's how it was. All those years blend together after a while.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it.
So it was after Maya. Maya was director before me, and then is that right? Maybe she was director. I don't remember these things. The
Yeah.
reality is I didn't care about them. They were just what I was doing, and when I went off and did something else, I you know forget that stuff.
Mm,
So
yeah.
so I went to Green Gulch from there, and actually I was at Green Gulch 12 years.
Is
And
that
while I
right?
was there, I was Tenzo, director, plant manager, all those kind of things.
Ah, ah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, how was your? So when you came to Zen Center, Richard Baker was the abbot. How did you get along with him?
With who? With Richard?
Yeah, he was the
Oh, I
abbot.
didn't. You're right. He was avid. I didn't. I tried. I really tried. And I said, I would like you to be my teacher. And he said, okay. And then one day he came into the grocery store and I said you would be my teacher, but I haven't seen you for like a year. And he said, well, you're seeing me now. And I almost said something very rude at that point because I thought that's just a cop out. What do you mean I'm seeing you now?
Yeah,
I'm up to my elbows in green peppers and tomatoes, and you're passing through. All we can do is say hi, and that's it. That wasn't, to me, it wasn't a teacher.
yeah,
So, and then at one point, I was sitting in the dining room during lunch, during the break from the grocery store, and I had mentioned to a couple practice leaders I was thinking of going to Tassajara. I didn't know. I knew most people had to spend 2 years at the city center and so forth, and I was thinking about it. So, and then I said, okay. I told someone, okay, I'll go in the fall, and then a couple weeks later, I said, no, I think it's too early. It doesn't. So Richard came up. I was sitting eating, and he walks up and he said, I hear you've decided not to go to Tassajara. And I said, yeah, I think it's a little soon. I would like to wait and go on the next session. And he said, well, I think if you don't want to go to Tassajara, you should leave Zen Center.
huh? That's far out.
And I thought, that's pretty clear. That is pretty. So of course I did go to Tassajara because I didn't want to leave Zen Center. But I also thought that that takes care of our relationship. That's it. I don't want
Yeah,
to deal with someone that uses that kind of muscle to get someone to do something.
yeah,
And so that was the end of our relationship.
yeah.
So
Hmm. So did you have relationships with any people that you would consider like teachers are a lot of times your fellow students are like, I mean, of course, our fellow students are our teachers. But in terms of your relationships with others, sort of supporting you and that sort of thing, what was there?
well, I became Reb student, and I really liked that. I didn't know him at all.
Yeah,
I didn't even know him when I saw him. I didn't know him until one of the one-day sittings at the city center he was the doshi, and
yeah,
that's how I met him.
yeah,
And I remember, and this was I don't know the time period of this, but I remember I was the let's see the door at the city center the door the one who keeps time who rings the bells for beginning ending zazen. I don't
right.
think that's called a doan.
Well, it's one
It
of the
has
Doans. It's one of the
one of
Doans.
the doans, but it has a particular name and I don't remember it. So some
Well,
point
Tenkin, there's the
Oh,
Kokyo.
yeah, I think you're right. I think Tenkin was what it was
Yeah,
because my job was to ring the bells and see that everyone was in there, and then I would sit down.
right. So the Tenkin
Right.
I think of
So,
as attendance.
yeah. So anyway, I was having a lot of difficulty with my legs and pain. So after lunch, um, I went to Reb and I said, I want to leave. This is it's too difficult right now. And he said, okay. He said, but I would like you to stay. And I said, oh, do I have to stay? He said, no, no, you can do whatever you want. But you're asking me what I want. And he said, what I want is I want you to stay. He said, I know it won't be easy, but he said, that's what I would like. He said, you can do anything you want to do.
That's good.
And I thought, wow, I like that. I don't know that anyone has ever offered something quite like that.
Uh-huh.
So I went back and I stayed. And then later I said, you know, are you taking students? Actually, he was taking no students. And it turns out I was part of the first group of his students, along with Fu and Maya and Myo and Taigen and myself. And we eventually were all ordained
Hey,
by Reb.
wait. Is this before or after Richard left?
This was after he left. This was in June of '86.
Uh-huh.
So at that point, let's see, Reb was actually abbot. I think he was
Right.
co-abbot with Mel.
No, that
Yeah.
didn't happen until January 88.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
was
So
on
this
the
was
board,
after.
very involved in that, so I remember it well. And that's when I left
Yeah.
to eventually go to Japan.
Uh-huh. So I have been his student and continue to be. I actually attended his lecture today.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
he gives a talk once a month at no abode, and I always make sure I'm there, and we smile at each other and wave a little bit, and occasionally he calls me and occasionally I write him a note. Well, it's gone well. It's gone well.
Good, good. Yeah, Richard said to me, people bond with Rep unlike anybody else in Zen Center. That the strongest bond between students and teacher or with Rep.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
There was 80 people at the talk today, and some of the ones who asked questions, one man was from Germany, and another one was from Norway or Sweden or something. I mean, I don't know what time of the night it is or day it is over there, but he certainly has a very strong following.
Yeah. They're like 9 hours ahead of California. I was just in Germany, so I'm aware of that. So now that's all interesting. What? So you and you and Frank and Ted were close back then. I remember.
Yeah, we were.
How did that come about?
Well, let's see. I met Frank first, and I can't quite remember the circumstances. I've tried to remember him, and I don't. However, very quickly after I moved into Zen Center, the city center, Frank and I became roommates.
Oh,
So that's sort of how it started, and then we went off to Tassajara together. That is, there was 14 people, 14 new people went to Tassajara from Tongariro, and Frank was one of those. Ted was already at Tassajara, but and he was working in the kitchen, and he had hurt himself, so I think his leg was in a cast or something like that. I'm not sure how we bonded, but eventually maybe within a practice period or so, the three of us were getting up before the wake up bell and making tea and sitting quietly with each other, drinking green tea, and then going off to the Zendo. So that started this, they were here this week.
Yeah, I have a picture of the three of you that Ted sent
Yes.
me. That's wonderful. And you're in, where are you again?
Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah.
It is. Yes.
Yeah, in fact, Ted made sure to do it before he got his hiatal hernia operation.
Yeah, he's been very clear about that.
Yeah, I have a hiatal hernia too that I'm seeing a doctor about right now.
Good.
Yeah. Not today's Sunday for me, so not right now. But so that's great. What I remember associating you with sound. You got some sort of sound
Ah,
equipment from me. What was that?
that's correct. Well, I've always been so for me, the entrance into Zazen was through hearing. So a lot of people do it through sight. They actually see a wall and they use their eyes, or some people do it mentally. I did it through hearing.
Yeah, well, that's
Hearing
supposed to
was-
be the highest way. Did you know that?
Well,
In fact,
No, I
I've read
didn't.
things like where Avalokiteshvara is talking to so-and-so and this, and it says, hearing is the only way. But,
So
I
that
take everything with a grain of salt, but
So what happened was when I went off to Tassajara the first 2 years and I came back, when I came back from Tassajara, I was, for whatever reason, I don't quite understand it, for whatever reason, I became fascinated with radio plays because at that time, that was 1980, that was the height of the radio plays on the radio that were modern plays. So there was a group called Mind's Eye in Sausalito that did radio plays.
huh,
And they had a whole crew. You might have heard of them.
huh.
And so first I recorded it on I don't know what. And finally I thought, oh, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it on something good. So I went and found out about recorders. I bought a Nakamichi.
Oh,
And
that's
recorded
good.
on Nakamichi.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the City Center had a Nakamichi big reel that no one knew how to use. So it was just stored away. So I got it and cleaned it up. And then I started recording Lou Richmond's piano playing and the little plays that they would do in the dining room. And then I just gave them out to whoever wanted them. But I was just fascinated with the technology of learning how to do it. And then I stepped up into video. So I had to get permission from the practice committee to have a TV. And what I wanted the TV for was I wanted to record the educational programs on the TV, and then I wanted to edit them and take out all the commercials and stuff. So I ended up having 3 Sony Betamaxes.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
I would take these tapes and then run them through and edit them down to where they were just the educational part and there wasn't all that other extra stuff around it.
Right.
And so I did that for a while, and then at some point I became the office manager at the city center, and they gave it's probably a mistake, but they gave me a master key which unlocked every door in the building.
Right.
So of course I went exploring, and one of the rooms was a locked storeroom across from the laundry room. And when I went in, I discovered all of this 16 millimeter films of Suzuki Roshi. So those films you have of Suzuki Roshi are the films that I found, and then I went to Bill the treasurer, whose name I can't remember.
Bill Lane.
Bill Lane, and I said, Bill, these are useless to us right now. But I found a place that I can take and I can have them changed into 2-inch master tapes. And from the 2-inch master tapes, we can make as many as we want of the VHS tapes. So I would like to have the money to do that. So what we made a deal was, he said, okay, I'll give you the money to make it into a 2-inch master, but you have to raise the money to make it into VHSs. So what I did was I went around to
I have a question.
Berkeley Zen
I have
Center.
a question.
Yes.
You're making audio tapes into VHS. Why?
Oh, not audio tapes. At this point, I'm using 16 millimeter films of the Suzuki Roshi.
Oh, film. All right, I got lost. Pardon me. I was back. Oh yeah. So you made VHS. All right, go on.
So those films that are now the ones of Suzuki Roshi at Tassajara and the Sando Kai, the lectures and all that. So I took all of those and put them into VH forms. And then after I had the masters, I went around to Sonoma State, Berkeley, Green Gulch, Tassajara, and the City Center. And I said, if you'll each give me $150, I'll give you a copy of all of the stuff that we have of Suzuki Roshi. And you can have it for your organization. At that time, there was no sound on the Sando Kai because we hadn't found the sound. It was just the video.
Right.
And that. So that's what they did. So I had all these made. And then when the technology changed, I went out and said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, for a very little price, like $12, I'll turn these into DVDs.
Yeah.
Because I said they'll deteriorate as the VHSs. So I turned them all into DVDs and gave everyone a copy of them to all these places.
What year?
And
what year was this?
Oh, that ranged over, I think I started in 85. Maybe 85 was the first year. And it took me about a year to get all that together and do it. And then 86, right, because in 87 they asked me to go to Tassajara. So it was all done before I went to Tassajara.
That's wonderful. You know, I didn't know anything about this. You know, I've been involved
No, I didn't think you did.
and this is way before I did any of this. But I was just digitizing.
Right.
And you know, the films deteriorated so much that any old copies of it are valuable. What happened to that 2-inch masters?
Great question. So I took So in the office at the City Center, there was a big safe in the wall.
Yeah, right.
You remember that?
That's where I got them.
So I put the master in that safe. And later, a long time later, I went back to get it to do something with it, and it was gone, and no one knew anything about it.
Yeah, see, I never saw it.
So that was the end of that.
Far out.
So
well,
I still have I made myself a copy, so I still have the copy of the original. There's no sound on the Sando Kai and things like that.
Well, that doesn't matter.
No.
Do you think it's do you think it might be a higher quality than what we have?
No.
Yeah.
I think you've got the highest quality. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I definitely want to include that in the history of archiving. That is fantastic. Can you write that up as a separate thing?
Sure, I can write that up. Yeah.
I mean, I'll transcribe what you just said, and you know, I put it in Mac Whisper, and it transcribes it in a minute. But it'd be better, I'd be interested in any details you include. That whole thing.
I will write something and remember more. Like I don't remember their name, but I know where the company was that I used. They were in Sausalito, that did the original from 16 millimeter into the 2-inch master and so forth. And
That's so interesting. Well, good for you. You know, I always say that what has kept the archiving going at Zen Center has been the activity of individuals, like doing stuff like what you did, and that's a piece of the puzzle I didn't know. Now, there's one reel that I didn't get the first time I was digitizing, which was, oh God, I don't know, I don't know, back in the earlier part of this century, but in this century, and is that right? Yeah, and it was the outtakes from Sunseed, you know, the color one. Actually, I'm
the
involved.
Suzuki Roshi, the 12 or 18-minute one, is that the one you're talking about?
Well, that has Alan Marlowe, and you know, it's the only color one. It has Alan Marlowe and Meg and Bill Shirtliff.
He's holding an apple, yes.
And right, and he's
Yes.
that's great. And Suzuki, they're in the trees talking about the birds and
Birds and
yeah, but don't. You know, if you start thinking about Buddhism, you get distracted. You can't hear the birds singing. That was great. And you know, had Reb carrying the Kyosaku and the Zendo, and it had Orioki. Anyway, the KQED had Orioki. I think it had. Well, I can't remember quite. But I got a reel, and I hadn't noticed the first time. It was outtakes, and I have it on ShunYuSuzuki.com, where we keep all the film. I have it on there, but it's so deteriorated. I'm in touch with Amartak Kohn. He lives in Kuala Lumpur, you know, which is one of the closest places to here, and I've seen him here. I got permission from him to use that back in around 2000 or something. And then that took a while. I had to find him because he was, he was the director, and Ralph Silver was the producer of that. And Amartat, it was a student of Sufi Sam's. That's where we get the Amartat. Frederick Cohen, not Cohen, Cohen, like David Cohen. He was
David and Darlene.
Yeah, and
Right.
no, David, no, that's Cohen. David Cohen, Cohen. You know,
okay.
He was a Zen student, started a restaurant, and very successful downtown. Anyway, Amartop got heavily involved with Herbalife. I think that's what it's called. It's sort of an Amway type of thing with vitamins, and he's still into it. But he did a redo sort of Sunseed called, I don't know. I feature it on that page, and you know, I helped him with the names and this and that. But there was, and incidentally, as a part of that, they asked me to take down from Facebook the same footage that they were making that from, which was not, that's not good. Anyway, I get around that. So, but there was a reel of outtakes. It has Paul Disco, what's he doing? Moving rocks with Suzuki Roshi or something with a tripod and various things there. So that's on there. It says outtakes. But do you remember that?
I do remember that. And I think I didn't do anything with it because it was just outtakes. It just, you know, I think what you're doing is you're archiving all these things, but I wasn't archiving. I was just trying to make something that people would like to look at
Right.
as a complete thing.
Right.
So I came across that, but I didn't do anything with it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, I have a real, what would you say, loose idea about it all anyway, because everything we're doing is going to disappear, and we're keeping it alive, a little bit longer. That's what I call archiving. It's keeping things available a little bit longer. And I'm just, I say this quite a bit in podcasts. I was living, when Philip Wayland moved into Zen Center, he moved across the hall from me in 72. And I said to him one day, "Oh, Philip, how terrible the destruction of the library at Yolanda and this and that." And of course, what I think of now is I wasn't thinking about all the monks they murdered, but and he said, "Oh, David, just enough survives." Yeah, pretty good, huh? And that is the motto, or one of those things of Cuke Archives. Maybe it's not the motto. It's I don't know. I have to figure out what to call it. Anyway, I agree with that. But anyway, this is fascinating. It's fascinating. Good for you.
So here's another little piece that happened at the same time.
Yeah.
It was semi-related. So this was the time period Richard had left, and this was a time period when we were all sort of rolling around and it wasn't clear what was going on. And someone had the idea that maybe we could get together with Sonoma Mountain Zen Center and Les Kay's group and the Berkeley group at the City Center in Green Gulch and Tassajara, 6 groups.
Yeah.
And so the first one happened, and they asked me to go because I was office manager. So I went.
Yeah.
So, and I really liked it. I think the first one, I don't know where the first one was, where they held it. But I really liked it, and it was great. And what they did was they had 3 or 4 people from each one of the places.
Yeah.
So that's 18 to 25 people. And the abbots, Les Kay was there, Bill Kwong was there, Mel was there, Reb was there, and someone else was there. So I liked it a lot. And when they, pardon?
No, I'm wrong. I said Lou Richmond, but he left right after Baker did.
So sometime about 4 months later, I sent an inquiry out and said, "When are we going to do it again?" And they said, "We don't have any plans." And I said, "Oh, that's too bad. Listen, I think what we should do is we should meet every 6 months, and we should rotate it through the different places."
Excellent.
And someone said, "Okay, you organize it."
Uh-huh.
So I said, "Okay, I'll organize it." So being in the office where I had my fingers in everything, that's exactly what I did. And so over the following 2 years or year and a half, we met once down at Les Kay's group. I can't remember where that was. We met at Berkeley, we met at Green Gulch, and we met at the City Center. We didn't meet at Tassajara. And we did that every 6 months. And it was absolutely wonderful. And after we had done a full loop, everyone had done it. So I was a little bit running it, and that is, I was sort of the manager of it. And at the end of each one, I would say, well, the next one's planned for blah, blah. So when we'd done a loop, I said, what would you all like to do? How would you like to do the next part? And they said, what we'd like to do for the next part is we'd like to not do it. Let's don't do any more.
Yeah.
And so that was that. That was the end of that. But for 2 years, this was really great. And all of the pieces of Zen Center sort of fit together. And when we got together, we'd have a meal and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. The pieces of Zen Center, the pieces of Zen Center and the Zendos that were formed out of it, because they're not part of Zen Center, and especially Sonoma is. But what I really liked hearing about that was how close Sonoma was in there. Dharma Sangha, Richard Baker's group, is in Branching Streams now.
I didn't know that, but it makes sense that they would be.
And Branching Streams are Zen Center affiliated Zendos. Zen Center is not in charge of them, but there's some movement to try to get Sonoma in on it. But it's always been independent and I don't know quite what to say. It hasn't been, there hasn't been a warm, close relationship with it. There hadn't been anything negative. It's just.
Well, it was interesting because when we were doing this meetings, Bill Kwong went by Bill Kwong. He said, call me Bill. And I saw him because I went up to Sonoma every so often because I had friends. I would drop by and go for a walk. And one day when I was at Sonoma Zen Center, I saw Bill come walking down the hill, and I said, "Hi, Bill." And he said, "Don't call me Bill, call me Joshua," or whatever that name is he uses now.
Joshua.
And I said, "What?" Right. I said, "Oh, but you've always been Bill." And he said, "I'm not Bill anymore. I'm Joshua." And
but he didn't say, call me Kwong Roshi, huh?
No.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah. So it felt like all of a sudden he put up a little bit of a wall or something. It was very disconcerting after the times I've known him and had a beer with him and stuff like that. And now he was gone.
Yeah.
So.
That is consistent with other things I've heard.
Yeah.
Well, to me, he doesn't want to dilute it. He wants to concentrate. He has his own trip there. Suzuki said to me once, he said, "We don't want other teachers." He said, "We don't do that." I was asking him to let somebody speak at Tassajara. He said, "Well, okay," sort of like that. He said, "But we never do this in Japan. We're jealous. We don't want other teachers." And so Bill is sort of, I'd say, traditional in that way. And he's got a strong group. It's had a lot of turnover through the years because he's very demanding and strict in some ways. But now his son, his fourth son, I think, what's his name, is the abbot.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I really like him a lot. I saw him in Germany last year. I was there when Richard Baker stepped down from being abbot of Dharma Sangha, and Nicole Baden stepped up, and she's really neat. I saw them this year, too. They flew Katrinka and me there for a while, and he's 89, and he's evolved very well,
Good.
Yeah. And his stroke, he had a stroke in spring. And,
I did not.
Oh, yeah, it sort of knocked him out for a while.
You mean Richard?
Yeah. And,
yeah, I did know that.
Yeah. And, I'm not talking about Bill. He's pretty much using his own, I've already explained it on a podcast before, and using his own post-stroke, very far out thinking, said that he's no longer alpha like he was, and he softened up a lot. But he was alert, he was energetic, he was full of life. It was really enjoyed it. He's, yeah, we all owe him. There wouldn't be any of it without him.
That's right. I agree.
Well, that's really interesting. Tell me more. Something else.
Well, I've lately been thinking about this. So Rev gave me transmission in 2009,
Uh-huh.
and so our agreement was when I said I was ready to do the ceremony, he said, "Okay, I have one request," and he said, "My request is that you pass it on to someone else. You don't hold on to it. You can pass it on to as many as you like, but please pass it on to at least one person. Don't let it stop with you."
Very good.
So I had a student at that time, and over the time period, so her name is Lori Belzer, and she is now the head priest at the Ancient Dragon Zen Center in Chicago.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
My
I
God,
did
I think I might know her because I've been there.
You have met her because she's talked
Oh,
about
I
it.
remember her.
Yeah.
Is she the one that worked with the Field Museum?
The Field Museum. I don't think so.
No.
She's
All right. I forget who's who.
Yeah. One of the people in the organization was at the Field Museum.
Yeah, I got to, go there for free and get behind the backstage. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. So I just pass that on because it feels good to actually watch this transmission just continue right on through into America. Because Lori hasn't been to Japan. She's, she's been to Tassajara, and she's done a half a dozen practice periods with Reb at Green Gulch. But she's not like some of us that Japanese Soto is sort of pounded into our heads a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's not one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really nice. It's really nice.
Well, that's great. That's great. Good for you. And, I probably, I forget who's who and what I'm doing, but I've probably been in touch with her. I can just go to my email, put her name up there and see what sort of email there might have been between us. Well, that's great. That's great. Well, that really is an important piece in the puzzle right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Wow. Well, what else are you keeping up your sleeve?
I'm living a quiet, simple life.
Yeah. Oh, hey, tell about how you got together with your wife, because that was this enormous change, just overnight practically.
That was a little unusual. So I went to high school at a place in Germany, in Wiesbaden, Germany, and we called the school Wiesbaden High School. Mm-hmm. And she went there the same time I went. Oh. She was a junior. She was a sophomore and junior, and I was a junior and senior, and I never knew him. I never met her.
Yeah.
At all. I ran with a little different crowd than she ran with, or I drove. I was a driver. So the way we do high school reunions is they're all different places around the country based upon how many people are in some particular area.
Yeah.
So in 1998, so let's see, 72, 62, 72, 82, 92. So 37 years later, they did a reunion in San Antonio, and it was what's called a multi-class union. Normally our reunions are just like the class you're in, or maybe two classes, but this was a decade from 1960 to 1970, which means there'd be a lot of people there that don't know each other.
Yeah.
So anyway, the twist in all of this was I decided I was going to go because my parents lived in San Antonio. My
Oh,
father retired. My father was a retired Air Force, and he retired in San Antonio. So I thought, great, I'll go down there and I'll go to the reunion and then I can visit my parents. I can do. But when I called to make reservations, they told me it would cost, I don't know, $250. And I said, forget it. There's no, I'm living at Tassajara on stipends. There's 250, forget it. So I said, I'm not going. However, I already made my plane reservation. So I said, all right, I'll just go and stay with my parents. No big deal. So a week before the reunion, I got a letter from someone a couple classes before mine. And they said, we heard you were going to come and then you changed your mind. And we, meaning his class, would really like you to come to the reunion because we hear you're a priest. And there's no other priest in all of our student history. So you, to some degree, you have made it. That's how they thought about it. So it was very emotional, very pleading. So I said, okay, I'll come. And so I called and I said, can I come for just one event? Can I just come for the dinner? And they said, sure, you could just come for the dinner. So I went to the dinner and I saw the guy who wrote the letter and I went over and I said, Soapy, his name was Soapy. Soapy, thank you so much. That was a great letter. And he said, what letter? I said, the letter you wrote me. He said, I didn't write you any letter. I said, yes, you did. I have the letter. He said, boy, I don't remember anything about that. So that was that part. That's the part that actually got me there. And when I walked into the door, a woman sitting at a table at the far side got up and came across and she said, hi, I'm Judy. I'm your friend Mike's girlfriend. And we'd like you to come over and sit with us. Mike lived in Australia, so he wasn't around. So when I sat down, this woman, there was 3 or 4 people there, and one of them was the woman that turned out to be my wife. But so she was just curious. So I was wearing beads. I took my beads off and let her play with them. And over the next couple of days, she had just finished her doctorates at University of Texas and was working on a postdoc program. So it didn't mean anything to me, but she was there and she was finished school. So at some point I was invited up to Austin because there was about 3 of the people from her class in Austin. So they invited me up and we went out to dinner and that sort of started us on something. But I was director at Green Gulch, so I was sort of up to here with work. So when I went back to Green Gulch and she emailed me, I said, listen, I can't do anything. I can't go anywhere. I said, if anything's going to work, you have to come to California. So lo and behold, she called me, and because I said, if you're interested in coming, Thanksgiving's next weekend, you could come from our Thanksgiving dinner at Green Gulch. I said, it's a little unusual, but you'll probably like it. And the phone rang, and she said, I hope you were serious because I have a travel agent on the other line to make a phone reservation to fly to California. Are you serious? And I said, yes. So she flew to California. And that sort of started it all. But still, I stayed there, and she moved to California. And we sort of drifted apart a little, mostly because I was too busy to follow up on anything. And one day I got a phone call, and she said, Taiyo, I'm in California. In fact, I'm in Berkeley. I've gotten a job in Berkeley. I'm working at the University at Berkeley. Would you like to come over and visit? And maybe you'd like to come over and spend the night with me at the faculty lounge? So we did, and that started the whole thing.
But at some point, you retired from Zen Center and moved in with her.
Yes. So what happened was she was living in Berkeley. Actually, she's living in Alameda, and Albany. And we would meet at the Marin Brewing Company. That was halfway between the two places.
Mm.
So on weekends, we'd drive over and meet there and have a couple beers and talk. And at some point, she said, would you consider moving in with me?" And I
Mm.
said, "Moving? I can't. I have all these responsibilities." So I actually mentioned that to the people at Green Gulch, and they said, "Well, maybe she'd like to move here. If she wants to move here, she could come and move here. We'll make a space for you." So I mentioned that to her, and she said, "Listen, you want me to commute from Green Gulch to Berkeley, to UC Berkeley every morning at 5:30 or 6? Forget it. There's no way. Besides, the room they're going to give us, my sewing machine would fit in that room, and there wouldn't be any room left over." So what happened is I came to the end of my tenure as director, and I didn't know what to do next. So, and at that point, Susan was saying, Susan and we had talked, and she said, "Well, since your job is ending, why don't you come and live with me?" "You mean leave Zen Center?" She said, "Well, I don't know what that would mean. We could try it. Let's experiment." So I actually went and told them I'm leaving Zen Center, and I'm going to go in and move in with Susan. So, well, that took a little, some finagling and all the rest of that. Eventually, that's exactly what I did as I moved. But to put a little twist on this, I moved there Thanksgiving weekend. So we had Thanksgiving dinner at Green Gulch on Thursday, and Friday I moved in with her.
Mm.
And Saturday we went for a walk. There's a place called Albany Hill. It's like a little park. And we were walking down through the woods, and I said, "Watch out, there's all these eucalyptus nuts." And there were hundreds of them. So it was like walking on marbles. And I said, "Be very careful, don't fall." And she slipped and fell just like that. And she tried to get up and she couldn't stand. And it turns out she broke her ankle.
Oh.
And we had to go to the hospital, and they operated on the ankle. They put a little plate in and little screws in, and they said, "Okay, now for the next 4 to 6 weeks, at least for the next 3 weeks, you can't move. You just lay flat on your back."
Oh, horrors.
So the way that worked was, for me, it was that I moved in there Friday, and Monday she was going to go off to work, and I would have, for the first time in all these years, I wouldn't know what to do. But now I had something to do. I had someone that could not take care of themselves, that was laying on their back, that I had to feed. I had to do the laundry. I had to help them to the back. And this went on for like 6 to 8 weeks. Eventually, she was able to get up, but she couldn't. She had a cast on and all. So this went on for weeks and weeks. And actually, it was a wonderful way to interface into living not as a monk, but as a layperson with another person.
Yeah, in service to the other person.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's exactly
even
right.
better, But
In fact, I was doing the same thing I did at Green Gulch. I was cleaning toilets, doing the laundry, washing the dishes, and cooking. That's just what I did at Green Gulch.
That's great. That's
So,
great. Well, that was all training leading up
yes,
to the what was all leading toward.
yes.
That's great. So what year was that?
That was 19, let's see. Come on, brain, you can do this. 2002.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Thanksgiving of 2002.
So, and now 23 years later,
Yep, here
you're
we
still
are.
here. How's she doing?
She's doing quite well. And she just finished sewing two Ted Ted discovered that she's a seamstress, and she has one of these fancy machines that does everything but play chess. And so when we went over to Ted's there, he's staying at a B&B. He he didn't quite corner her, but he got Susan. He said, "Listen, I have these two pair of pants, and they need repairing and changing. Can you?" So he gave them to her. So that's what she was doing, and Ted came over today and picked them up. So
Today?
yeah, this afternoon. Yeah,
Oh, Ted's there now. Oh, right. Yeah,
yeah.
he just sent me that. Right, I forgot. That is great. Is Frank still there?
Frank left Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's wonderful.
it is.
So now, in the last 23 years, what have you done?
Not much. I have intensified my photography, and I guess that's it. I've done a lot of photographic work. And since I got here in Asheville, which has been 8 years, I've been very involved with the College for Seniors. In fact, I started to teach a course called, you'll be surprised, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind.
Ah,
But the hurricane came through the day after I started teaching, and they closed the school down. So I never got beyond my first class. And I haven't gone back and retaught it.
but the school reopened,
Yeah,
right?
the school reopened, and I've been taking courses, and I've been taking a lot of courses on science like relativity and quantum and light, and I've always been fascinated with that.
What
And then
about
courses on music.
on what?
There's music.
Yeah.
There's a person that lives here that was maybe you remember. So in 1971, there was a group called Sha-Na-Na.
Yeah, sure.
They were out of, so they actually were the a cappella choir from, I want to say Yale, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, he's one of the singers from that group that went on and got his degree in law and became an attorney, moved to California and became attorney for musicians because he's a musician. So he did that for 30 years. So now he's been teaching courses about this music. And the last course I took with him, we actually sang. He taught us how to sing in harmony one of the Sha-Na-Na songs that they did. And I recorded it. I was just knocked over by it. It was incredible. And anyway, so I've been taking all the music courses I can get and all the science. They're not quite free. To join costs maybe $150, but for 12 months, I can take all these courses.
Well, that's pretty
And
close to free.
that's pretty close to free. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you had any involvement with AI?
No, I have nothing to do with AI.
Yeah. Do you have any? Have you read anything, or do you have any idea where it's headed, or anything like that?
No, I did read the New Yorker had an article yesterday about the guy that created whatever that is, ChatGPT, has now created the next level. And I can't remember what it's called.
Well,
And
ChatGPT's out of OpenAI, and
right,
then
so
people from there created Claude.
yeah, I think that's the one they were writing about, and they were comparing it and saying how Chap was really good, but this new one was considerably better. And that X amount of time down the road, we'll completely have forgotten about Chap
Oh
and
yeah,
be using this new one. And
yeah,
but no, I don't have any interest in that kind of, if I can't see the person and talk to them, I'm not interested.
yeah. Well, I use it all the time, but I use it like for research, and it
Yeah.
just saves me a lot of time. Working with software, stuff that I would have taken a lot of time. I can take a picture of the screen and say, well, what do I do now? And it's very helpful in many ways, but nothing personal. I turn all that off. It's just,
Yeah.
I say, pretend we're in the army. I just need help saving time, getting things done.
Yeah. I can see where it'd be very useful and very helpful. I just don't do that kind of work.
Yeah. Well, it's going to change everything, and it's they're trying to figure out how to control it so that it doesn't destroy the human race. Because anyway, I've been keeping up with stuff like that. Anyway, it looks to me like China and Europe are being responsible, and the United States is just turning it over to billionaires to do whatever they want. So what about climate change? Got any thoughts on that?
Not a bit.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's not good.
I just open the door. Do I take my umbrella or do I take my sunglasses?
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you're a transcendent being. Yeah. Well, really, I've always been aware of threats to the human race, nuclear weapons, and long ago I got interested in climate change. Didn't do anything, but it's so good to have had a lifetime of involvement with Buddhism, and I call it, keeping one foot in emptiness. And, whatever happens here on Earth, I mean, I want it all to go well, but we're all okay. It's not gonna do anything fundamental. We can't be taken out. We can only be taken out of the picture on Earth. So I feel sympathy for people who have no sense there's anything bigger, any broader stage. And I feel that way about, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan. Not about Einstein. He had a sense of it. But I feel like, well, sort of, that's all great. It's really fascinating. I love it. But sort of, they don't realize there's more, All right. Well, so, hey, give you another chance. Anything come to mind?
No, the only thing that comes to mind is, how are you doing, David? I haven't heard from you and about you. Remember, we lived across from each other for about a year.
Yeah.
At the city center.
Yeah. Was that in 87?
Probably 86 or 87. You were the Tenzo.
Yeah, 87. 86, I was at Green Gulch. How am I doing? Well, just working really hard. I've got some health problems now, like I said, like Ted. But I'm functioning. I got a new book out, Tassara Stories.
Yes, I'm halfway through it.
Oh, well, what an excellent way to spend your time. How do you find it?
I like it. I like it a lot. And so I'm reading it. Usually I a book like that I would read in maybe a day or a day and a half. I'm a fairly fast reader, but I'm reading it really slow because I like the richness of it. It makes me, although there was a time period before I was there, still there's enough elements of it. I often feel like I'm walking down the road, or going over to the baths or, oh, I have a story to tell you about the baths. I
All
wanted
right,
to tell you
let's
this.
hear it. Let's hear it.
Um, I was I was a shop manager or whatever it is that it was called one practice period, and there was a woman who was director called Barbara, and I don't remember her last name.
Barbara
And
Cohen.
no, not that Barbara.
Okay, go
This
on.
was a Barbara that, pardon?
Go
This was
on.
a Barbara that seemed to come out of nowhere. So anyway, she was director, and we went out. We went out on my birthday. So it was Barbara, May, and I, and we went out and had dinner and had a cake. And so this was January 7th on my birthday, and the practice period hadn't started then. So we got to know each other, and I was sitting in the Zendo. And it was,
Wait,
it was cold.
I want you to set the scene here because you're talking
Okay.
about Tassajara, but you don't go out and have a cake if you're at Tassajara. You're in the city, right? You're during the interim, and you're in the city, right?
Right. No, we actually drove out from Tassajara,
Oh,
and we were in the
goodness.
Jeep, yes. And there was snow on the ridge. So I
Yeah.
wasn't going to tell this part, but I'll tell it anyway. When we were driving back in, it was snowing, and there was about maybe 6 inches of snow on it. And I love snow.
Yes.
So driving in the snow, the only thing it could be better is that there might be a tree down across the road, and I would have to stop and get out and cut the tree up because I carried everything in the Jeep that I needed, a breaker bar, chainsaw, chains, come-alongs, all that. And lo and behold, below Chews Ridge, there was a tree parallel to the road, about 4 feet off the ground that had fallen down from, the ridge side.
Do you mean parallel?
So, yeah, like that. Here's the road, and the tree was like this.
That's perpendicular.
No, that would be perpendicular. This is parallel.
It's across the road?
Across the road.
That,
Directly across. Oh, I see how you're thinking of it. Yes. Okay, you could call it perpendicular. Yes.
Yeah.
Perpendicular to the road.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's this tree. So I got really happy about this, and I stopped and I left the lights on the Jeeps, and I said, okay, I'll take care of this. And I got the chainsaw out, got the chainsaw going, and I was cutting on the tree, and damn if I didn't make a mistake, and I cut too deep coming up, so the tree shifted and locked the chainsaw into the tree.
Ooh.
So I thought, and I said, I know. So I got out the jack and put the jack under the tree and jacked one side up, which opened up the thing, and the chainsaw fell out.
Good.
So then I got the chainsaw and did it the right way. Of course, you know how to do that. So, and I was just not paying. Anyway, this sort of bonded the three of us together. So this becomes important in a minute.
Yeah.
So then the practice period started. I don't know who I don't know who the head of the practice period was. And so about 3 or 4 weeks into the practice period, I was sitting there and I heard these voices out in the gaitan. And I wondered who they were. And a couple of minutes later, I heard the door open. And this was second period Zazen. So it was about maybe 8:30, 8:20, something like that.
In the morning? No, in the evening.
At night. At night. So someone comes over and says, Taiyo, come out here. We need you. So I went out, and there was Maya and Barbara standing on the gaitan. And they said, we think there's someone in the baths. And I said, oh, okay. Why do you need me? We want you to go and get them out. And I said, but there's no one there except them. They can stay there. And they said, no. They have to leave. They have to leave. I said, okay. So I went and got a flashlight, and I went. This was the old baths before they moved.
Right.
So I went over, And sure enough, in one of the rooms there were all these clothes, and I went over and I opened the men's steam room, and there were three people, three teenagers sitting there in the total dark, no lights or anything. And I had a flashlight, but I just kept it down so it didn't. And they weren't wearing it. It was a woman, a girl, and two boys. And they were probably 17 or so. And I said, "Hi guys, it's sort of nice in here, but you know what? You guys can't be here right now. This is not the right time." And they said, "This isn't your place." And then I realized they were the Nasons.
Oh,
And so, and I said, "You're right." I said, we don't really own this. We just take care of it. But right now we are taking care of it. And you can come in anytime you like, provided you call us and let us know what you'd like to do. And we'll make arrangements. But right now you have to leave. So they stood up and grumbled a little and went out. And then as we're walking over, they again said, "You don't own this place. We own it." And I said, "Well, I think that's fine. But if you want to come back, just let us know. We can always make arrangements. And really, you can come. I'm not, you just have to make arrangements for this." And they got dressed, and I followed them up to the gate, and they got in the car and drove away. And that was that. But I thought it was such a delight to meet three young people sit there, had no light, sitting in the total dark, and I don't know how long they've been sitting there. And it was nice. It was a nice connection. I felt very connected to them.
they weren't angry?
I wanted to take care of them. Pardon?
They weren't angry?
No. They didn't like that they had to leave, but they weren't angry.
I liked your first response. I liked your first response.
Yeah. I was happy that they were there. I felt like this was, I'm not a very good American. I think we should share everything. And it belongs to everyone. Come in. Take, And so I'm happy when people show up, and we just have to do with that violence. Just be cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's that story.
That's cool. So, well, I'm very happy and to hear what you're reading. I strongly approve of it. Well, this has been great. It's been terrific. I've really enjoyed it. And I have learned a lot.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked an awful lot, but
that was your job.
That was the point, wasn't it?
Yeah. That my job is to talk as little as I can, and I always talk too much. And your job was to, keep coming up with all this interesting stuff. Wow. All right. Well, it's been really good, and until we meet again.
Well, thank you, David, and I hope we meet again on a soonish side rather than a longish side.
Yeah, well, you'll have to come here.
I understand that.
If I can help it, we'll see. Never know. All right. Well.
Great.
Okay.
David, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. You take care. So thanks a lot, Taiyo Lipscomb. Very interesting. Some of the factors in your Way-Seeking Mind story, it's got a type of purity, and it's unique. So this has been a Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC Puba of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives. coming to you from sleepy Sonora with Doggy Bandita, Feline Manis, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.